All right, well, today we are back to work on our workshop project. So we love building cars, but the better the workshop is, the easier time you're gonna have. So we've been chipping away at this thing. We tore down my old building, we built this new one. We've done a lot of improvements and changes to it over the years, and we're just working on adding storage, adding efficiency, just making it the best workshop we can with the space we're allotted. So one of the biggest projects to date is this lean-to build. So if you didn't see the last episode, I will link it down below for anyone who's interested, but we did all of the framework. So all of the structural work is done with the exception of a few braces and things that we still want to add before we lay paint on it. But before any of that, we want to get the roof on it. That's really the next big step in this project. We've got these roof panels off the old shop that we tore down to build this shop. So we're recycling them to be the roof on our lean-to build here. So we need to get those on first and then start working on adding our bracing, getting it painted, getting everything set up down here as far as the groundwork's concerned, and then putting it to use. So that being said, the goal is to get this thing fully finished up, fully functional. So that means we got a lot of work to do. So I'm gonna quit jibber jabbering so we can get right into it. So our roof panels here are a little bit longer than we need. They're 18 feet, our frame structure is 16 feet. So we need to cut about 2 feet off the end of each one of them. Now, as much as it might surprise some of you, I actually did work construction for a couple years. I worked for a company doing commercial shade structures. Now, we never did anything like this, and we never did anything out of wood. That's part of kind of my disdain for wood, my dislike of building things out of wood. It's just something I'm not very familiar with. I'm much more familiar with working with steel, between working on cars and some of that crossing over and just general past experience of building different shade structures. Now, we did things like freestanding structures that were all custom fabricated in-house that had interlock roof panels. We did tension structures, things like that, and I was the lead installer, so I did a lot of that kind of work, and I spent a lot of time cutting things with an angle grinder. You know, we'd install soffit and have to cut it around light boxes and do things like that. So I've gotten pretty decent with getting a nice straight line with an angle grinder, so that's why we decided to take that route on cutting these. I'm not super fond of cutting things with an angle grinder, but it was the easiest way to get a nice clean straight cut, which we need because you're going to see this cut and it's going to matter. So we get the first two panels up. It was just cut and install. Now we're only installing a couple of screws in each one of these panels because we don't want to get down to the end and find out that things are way out of square and we've got to go back and remove all the screws and then do new holes. So we're just doing a couple just to hold them in place, and if we get to the end and the thing is square and all the panels have lined up correctly, then we can go ahead and go back and put a gajillion screws in this thing. But for right now, we just need enough to hold it in place as we keep trucking along. Now, the frame's obviously not going to be perfectly square. Wood has bows and issues. It's not perfect. So as we got going, the cut started shrinking with our trace line. We were tracing the previous panel and then cutting the next panel off that trace line. But as you go, depending on where you're cutting, you know, you can shrink that cut by 1/8 inch, and then the next time 1/8 inch, and then the next time 1/8 inch, and the next thing you know, you're a 1/2 inch short. So we decided about halfway through to just remeasure, start over, and then use that one as the template. So it's a pretty straightforward, pretty simple process. You know, these panels are just meant to go on like this. They're meant to interlock together. It really couldn't be much easier. The worst part is just the fact that they are super, super long and just a little bit unwieldy. So trying to get up there with the ladder and get them up into place is a little bit tricky, but we had our method down. And with any project like this, as you get further and further along and you're doing the same thing over and over again, you've got that repetition going, it just goes faster and faster and faster. You know, if we were to do another one of these after this, we'd probably do it in half the time. But overall, we're making good time. We started without a ton of daylight left, and we're trying to hustle and get this thing up and fully screwed in before the sun comes down. Now, the last panel doesn't land perfectly. It is about 3 inches shy. So we debated how we wanted to cut it, you know, what we wanted the end to look like. We are going to put some flashing over the end. So we decided to cut half of the rib off so there's still the rib structure there. It's not just flat, and then put it up and then cover it with flashing later. Now, I don't love it, but it should work, should get the job done. Doesn't look terrible. All right, take a gander. Roof is on. We are going to paint it to match the shop as well as the frame. So it should look pretty cohesive by the time we're done with all this. But definitely well shaded under here now. Need to add lights sooner than later. That's always been the plan when we built this, was to add some lights. I really wanted to build this out of steel because I'm not a huge wood building guy. You know, knowing how to weld, it's like I'd rather weld it. I'd rather work with steel, which I'm more familiar with. But we decided to do it out of wood just because it was the easiest material to get. We were struggling trying to find a place that would sell us the same kind of like 2x3 square tube that the shop's built out of to do this. I had a plan, but anyway, well, the story is long term. It would be cool to do this differently, but short term, we need something. We need some storage. So we had the roof panels, just had to buy the wood and put some elbow grease in, and now we got a whole roof. So yeah, we got to get up there, start screwing in those panels. We got to seal up the old holes. There was no good way to cut it to make the old holes line up. They're not evenly spaced, so we'll have to seal those up. But we got a roof, as they say in some other state. Three more screws.
Don't make me nervous, I'm a miss.
Isn't that a double though? That should be a triple. That should be a triple, buddy.
I can't see anything.
I can't tell either, but I started on a triple next to it, so it's gotta be a triple. Hit him with the triple. Final screw. All right.
Can't have too many screws.
Nope, we still gotta screw the ridges together. We just gotta grab different screws and bits for that. And then fill in all the old holes. Like I said, there was no way we could cut these panels to make it work where we could use the old holes. But they're all screwed on, at least in case we get a crazy windstorm overnight or something. Don't try to take off on us.
That ain't going nowhere.
Stupid mosquitoes.
I hit the goal for the day.
I know, right? Watch out, you're coming up on the edge there, buddy.
I appreciate you telling me. I was thinking about that.
I wonder how close I am to that. Stupid mosquitoes! Ah! I'm getting bit. There you go, there you go.
You like that? Oh, yeah, move.
It's a workman's comp claim if I've ever seen one.
Is the camera on?
Yep.
I'll make sure the guy on film these.
Stupid mosquitoes, dude. You cannot sit still.
Oh, I'm dying. I'm dying. Save yourself. Save yourself.
All right, well, we officially have a roof. We are not completely finished yet, but it is all screwed in. Our screw lines aren't the best. We wanted to snap a chalk line for each one so we had a nice center point reference all the way down, but we were really trying to get the roof fully screwed on before we called it a day, so that way we could wash it, clean it, and be ready to paint today. So one of those things, sometimes when time's ticking down, you gotta sacrifice. We were running out of daylight really quick. So all in all, it's fine. It's not bad. It's just, you know, sometimes if you're chasing that perfection, you'll never get the job done. Sometimes you gotta make some sacrifices somewhere. Anyway, I'm jibber jabbering. Point is, we are getting close to painting. I have the paint. Went and picked up 5 gallons of it. We're gonna be using the airless sprayer, and you can burn through some paint with the airless sprayer. We did some tests here to try to match the shop, and we ended up going with the lightest one that seems to match the shop the best. It's called Drizzling Mist. So I'm curious to see how this looks and maybe sample it on my house. I would like to paint my house to match the shop eventually, but that's a big project. So one thing at a time. But that being said, before we paint it, we've got some work to do still. So we need to seal up the joint where the roof meets the wall so we don't get any water ingress. We also need to seal up all of these extra holes where they didn't line up with where we needed our holes to be. So we've got a lot of holes to cover up. And then I need to screw the panels together at the overlapping joints. I just needed to get some different screws to do that. So I'm gonna climb back up there, get back to work, try to get this thing finished up, and we need to prep for paint and get it painted. So I'm gonna quit jibber jabbering. We're gonna get to work. Out of the way if I'm gonna do this.
Dude, there's all that over there.
On what?
I don't know. He says I speak in sarcasm. Don't rush me.
I'm rushing you.
Don't rush me. Don't rush.
I'm rushing you,
Don't
brother.
Dude,
Chill. Chill.
I'm chill. It's nice and chilly out there.
So after I was done tying all the panels together, I went ahead and sealed up all the old holes from where the panels are screwed in before, and then Josue worked on finishing up a second layer of the asphalt tape to seal the roof to the wall. So while he was working on finishing up that, I started working on masking off for our paint work. Now this first tape line, if you ever painted anything, you know that that first tape line is the most important. So I went ahead and laid down a nice even first tape line before we started working on putting the plastic up, but the Florida weather, it has been great. It's been nice. It has not been hot out. It's been very cool. It's been great time to wear pants and work outside. However, the wind was just on another level today. It was so windy, and that is not really what you want when you're painting and when you're masking things off with plastic. So we were struggling to get this taped off, but we're getting it done. All right, we've got the roof sealed to the wall. We've got all the rooftop holes sealed up. We decided to use silicone just because it was going to take so long to cut little pieces of that tar tape. We'll see how it holds up. Worst case, if down the road we got to go up there and put a bunch of pieces of tape. We picked the worst day to do this, as it's super windy today. It's like 14 steady up to 26, I guess. And we, you know, when you're painting, spraying everywhere. B, you're trying to tape, you know, mask off, flying everywhere. So pretty inconvenient timing.
Florida.
Right? It decided to pick today. I'm gonna try to help so we can, this thing doesn't fly off again. All right, we got our masking done for the lower portion. We're gonna do the underside first since it's kind of gonna take the most time. It's the most elaborate, and then we'll do the top of the panels last. Hopefully it'll be less windy tomorrow and we can do that. But the bottom is all done. As you can see, it's all masked off. We've got plastic all the way down to cover the building because we're gonna be using the airless sprayer. Now this is a way faster way to do it than painting with a brush, especially something really intricate like this with a lot of cracks and crevices. However, just like spraying any sort of paint, it kind of makes a mess and it makes a lot of overspray, especially with it being super windy like it is right now. So that is why we masked off the whole bottom, use this plastic sheeting. On the same thought of overspray, we've got our brand new trailer sitting right here, right next to where we're gonna be painting. So we need to get this thing moved, get it out of the way so we don't end up getting a bunch of overspray on it before we even got to take it to the track for the first time. Definitely do not want that. The downside is the bus is kind of in the way. So we pulled the bus up here. We were gonna work on some projects with it, but I'm waiting on a couple parts that I still need, and we need kind of some more time. We got distracted by this stuff. So moral of the story is, before we dive into this, we're gonna have some time. So we're gonna put it back in its home, in its spot. We actually did spend some time when we were digging the post for that. We used the leftover dirt to fill back in here where it had started to get a little bit rutted out. So we got a nice kind of, at least flatter area to park on. We are going to re-gravel this eventually. It's on the list, but one thing at a time. So anyway, jibber jabber. Haven't started the bus in a couple weeks. Pretty excited to get this thing fired up. It's good to run it every so often, but I bet the old girl will fire up no problem. This thing's a rig for sure. It's time to play some musical cars or trailers. So I started working on masking off the upper portion above the roof, and Josue decided to add basically another layer down the side of the shop. With how windy it is, the overspray is going to go pretty far. And the last thing we want to do in building this lean-to is end up with a bunch of overspray all over the shop. There's nothing worse than doing a project that's supposed to be beneficial and make things better and making something else worse in the process. So we're trying to be thorough, take our time. The wind is not helping. The wind is making this incredibly challenging, but we're getting it done. We're plugging away, getting this tape sealed up, getting it all masked up nicely so that way we can paint without worrying about painting the wrong things. We just want to paint the roof. This is challenging with the wind, for sure. I will say, as far as walking around on the roof, this thing's been pretty sturdy, knock on wood. So we got back to work on masking this off. We've just got 2 pieces of plastic left. Now we're gonna have to hope that these hang on there and they don't go flying off on us with this wind. So we gotta be pretty thorough and use a lot of tape. All right, well, we did not end up painting yesterday. The wind was just, there's too much wind and we were running out of daylight. However, the wind has died down. It's still pretty windy compared to normal, but I think it's manageable. So we got the whole bottom side masked off, and then if you come up here, oh, I'm in a soft spot. Thing's leaning. You can see we got all this masked off as well. Not the easiest thing, but we got it done. It's all masked off, top and bottom. We are ready to paint our hearts out. So yeah, that being said, we're still gonna start on the bottom. We're gonna paint not just the frame, but also the roof, which is why we didn't mask it off. Hopefully we have enough paint to do it, but my goal is to paint the frame, the underside of the panels, and the top side of the panels. If anything, we'll go get some more paint. But the bottom is definitely the most important, so we're gonna start here. But I think we're good to go. Trailer is moved. Don't really have anything back here that I'm worried about getting overspray on. Hopefully we can kind of dodge the wind gusts and get this done. So that being said, nothing left to it but to do it. I'm gonna quit jibber jabbering, get this sprayer set up, and get to painting. So it's been a while since I've used this airless sprayer. I haven't messed with it very much, and every time I use it, I've got to kind of relearn the process because there are some steps involved. You know, you've got to kind of take it out of storage mode, get it primed, then prime it with paint, you know, do a new nozzle, all of those things. So I started a little bit on the inside just to make sure everything looked right before I started spraying the outside that you're going to see, and then just hammer down on painting this. Now, like I said, the air sprayer, while being very quick, it will go through a lot of paint if you're not careful. You really don't want to be going over the same areas multiple times. You've really got to think through kind of what your game plan is on how you want to do it. You know, do I want to paint the bottom 2 inch of the board and the side of the board at the same time, or the side of the board and part of the roof panel at the same time? You've got to figure out how to be efficient with it, and painting something like this that's really intricate, I'm trying really hard to avoid wasting paint. I really don't want to waste a bunch of paint and then run out before we can get to the top. You know, 5 gallons seems like a lot of paint. So you start painting and you watch how fast you're going through it, and you start to realize 5 gallons might not be enough. But overall, this is going super, super quick. I mean, I cannot imagine how long we would be doing this, how much longer this would be taking if we did this with a roller and a brush. So I'm glad we chose the airless sprayer route. Really, the most time-consuming part is just getting the ladder moved all around and into place while trying not to knock the sprayer and the 5 gallons of paint over. But we're plugging away, and it's looking pretty solid. All right, well, we got the underside painted. Pretty good coverage overall. I think there's maybe a couple spots we'll go back and touch up with the brush, but we need to move up top, see if we can stretch this 5 gallon out. We're probably 2/3 of the way through it, but I'm hoping, since the top's obviously way less intricate than this, we'll be able to get it done, or most of the way. But that being said, man, if you're gonna paint anything large, get yourself an airless sprayer. Definitely A1, but it is very messy. A lot of overspray. You got to do a lot more prep work. I mean, this is all covered in overspray. Like, the whole shop would be covered in overspray if we didn't do this. I am covered in overspray. You're covered in overspray. Oh yeah. Oh geez. Let me try to. But yeah, there's a lot of overspray, but it is fast. So anyway, let's get up top. Let's see. This is gonna be challenging, so we're gonna try to figure this out. We really need to carry the bucket and the sprayer at the same time.
Let's get the ladder.
So the trickiest part about this was there's a screen that you put on the suction hose for the sprayer, but it doesn't fit through the hole into the 5-gallon bucket. So you got to kind of take the lid off, fish the line through, and then put the screen on. So carrying all this up there was not an easy feat. But once we got up here, we were cruising along. I mean, it just goes to show how much quicker spraying a flat surface is compared to spraying, up in cracks and crevices and along the sides of joints. I mean, we are blasting through this. Now, the downside is I know we don't have a ton of paint left. I wish we had plenty of paint because I would do a super thorough job on this, almost do kind of a coat and a half as we're going. However, I'm in paint conservation mode. We got to try to make this paint last.
We're running out of space. It's lava.
All right, we got it all painted. I am pretty stoked on that. I was getting a little worried that 5 gallons wouldn't make it just because it's so intricate down here. There's so much surface area to cover, but it made it. It did it. Josue went back with the brush and touched up all the little spots that we missed, but it looks good. I feel like it matches the shop well. We won't know till we peel the plastic off, but overall, covered nicely. Sealed everything up nicely. The airless sprayer was definitely the move. Probably wouldn't even be halfway done now without it. The roof looks good. I think it's already, hopefully, close to dry enough for us to get up here and pull this tape. I like to pull this tape off top and bottom, and then we're gonna get cleaned up down here, and then we can start using it. Start putting some stuff under here. See how much stuff it fits. Gotta get at least one vehicle under here just to get the full effect, you know? All right, let's get to start peeling plastic. So definitely the most time-consuming part that is added to using the airless sprayer is you've got to clean it out and put storage fluid in it after each and every use. Otherwise, the paint's going to clog it up and ruin it. So I had already got that done. All we had to do was kind of pull up our little mat to try to prevent us spilling paint everywhere, and then get everything put away, and then start peeling the plastic off. There's not many things in life that are more satisfying than peeling tape and plastic and any masking material off after you paint something and getting to see the finished product. Sometimes it can be not satisfying. If you did a bad job on the masking, it's kind of disappointing, but most times, A1. All right, well, we got everything cleaned up. We still need to move that last roof panel. We'll save that for something else. Maybe if we want to build a small one for the compressor or something, maybe we'll put the compressor out here. I don't know. Obviously it's getting dark, but all the tape is removed, everything looks good. There's a few white spots on the roof that on the top side that I couldn't see with the sun, and I was trying to conserve paint, but other than that, very happy with how it came out. It's not a perfect match, but it's pretty close. It's not too bad. It's not too far off. It's not noticeable unless you're looking at the comparison. So anyway, I'm Jibber Jabber, and we're gonna move some stuff around. Put a vehicle. I've never driven a vehicle back here, ever. No vehicle has made it past the back corner of this shop. So this will be the first time a vehicle comes back here. This is gonna be kind of cool.
See how it fits.
Yeah. See what it looks like. Use the features. So we're gonna move the Monte Carlo back into its spot, and then we get to pull the vet out, drop the truck down, pull the truck back around, get a workbench pushed back. We got a lot of musical cars, trucks, and trailers to do to get this set up. So we're running out of daylight. We're gonna get to it. This is sick.
You know what you need back here? Say it. Light.
Oh, yeah, I have a bunch of lights in the container that were from the old building before we tore it down that I'll put up in here. I've got these like 2-foot high bays that'll be perfect for back here. But yeah, plenty of room still. Dang, the truck's crooked. Who parked that? Yeah, now we gotta put the mower back. Oh, that thing's battery's dead. You know what? We'll finish this tomorrow. All right, well, we got the shop kind of put back together, cleaned up, organized. We've got the vet on this lift. It kind of always needs to be on a lift so we can maintain it before any big event. And then we've got the Drift F80 on this lift because we got Drift Week coming up here soon and we need to get cracking on the upgrades we've got planned for this thing. But yeah, shop's all put back together. It's always a great feeling when you've got the shop torn apart to do a big project and you get to put it all back together. It feels good. I'm so happy with how this place is turning out. It's really coming along. So if we go out here, it's a little bit tight next to the Monte Carlo. We are maximizing our efficiency, but step outside. Turbo truck fits nicely back here. It's kind of cool to see it back here. There's a term for a car or vehicle that's low and it's in the weeds. And with it being out here in the grass, it is literally in the weeds. It feels cool to see it when I'm walking over from the house, see it peeking its little grill out here. But it's actually raining right now, so this will be a good test of the roof. Oh, there it comes. Definitely can fit 2 vehicles back here. This is obviously not a small vehicle and we don't have it all the way over to the edge. So that was pretty much the plan. Originally, I was hoping for 4 when we were gonna go 18 feet out to maximize the full length of the roof panels. But the way we had to build it, we went with 16. And plus having the 3-car stacker kind of made that need obsolete. You know, now we've got 3-car storage right there. We don't need to try to cram, 4 at most back here. So moral of the story is we can comfortably fit 2, plus all the associated nonsense like the mower and if we get a golf cart. Once we get a pad back here, we can build some shelves for tires, wheels, big bulky items like that. That'll allow us to clear some stuff out of the container, which will allow us to clear some stuff out of the shop into the container, make some more room all the way around. So overall, man, we're staying dry. This is a good test, good timing. Overall, I'm happy, really happy with how this came out. I'm really happy with the paint. The paint color blends in well. I'm not fond of building things out of wood, so I always like to paint them and try to make them look less like wood. Yeah, it's raining. I don't see any water coming through. I think we got our holes sealed up nicely. It's kind of cool to stand back here with the breeze and the rain.
No, it feels nice. This is a perfect test.
This really is a perfect test.
Surprise test.
Completely unplanned.
Thank you, Florida.
Right?
Of course.
Thank you for waiting until today to rain, Florida. I appreciate you.
Forecast.
Yeah, well, no, it wasn't supposed to rain. Typical. But yeah, long term, we plan to do this differently. The ultimate goal would be... Oh, yeah, you can see it. The ultimate goal would be to put another, 20-foot container here. Oh, it's raining. This is not a drill. This is real rain.
I pulled up, I got out of the truck, I looked at the weather.
Said no rain?
It said no rain.
Typical Florida. Yeah, no, it's working perfect. Doing its exact job. Look at the truck staying dry, the mower staying dry. It's coming down, so you can never see rain on camera. But yeah, the ultimate goal, maybe a few years down the line would be to put another 20-foot container here and build a metal, basically a deck. Use the container as the end support with a couple of posts, have a door cut in the side of the container so you can get in and out of it for storage there, and then a deck up top. Then we could put a door in the wall of the shop, and basically you could come out of the loft and onto the porch and have a nice porch chill area that also doubles as covered storage. That's the ultimate goal. But that is a big project, and we really needed to get something done out here to make room for getting all this stuff out of the way to get the loft built. That's really the biggest priority, to clear up a lot of space and be able to continue expanding in here in the shop. So this was something we could get done reasonably quickly, get the job done and keep on trucking. So overall, I'm happy with it. It's working. You got to strike that balance between getting it done and doing it exactly how you want it. There's a couple of things I would change with how we did this after having done it, but I think it'll be plenty good enough for what we're doing with it for now. So that being said, let me know what you guys think of the end result. We still got to add some Y braces in here and paint those. Just kind of fell to the wayside because we were really trying to get it painted before the potential weather came. But otherwise, it's pretty well wrapped up besides the pad. So anyway, let me know what you think. But for now, we are out of time. So thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I sure hope I'll get to see you next time. Goodbye.